A basic fit, I guess, would be, let's define the things before we...
I would say that's a bike shop fit.
Yeah.
You've just purchased a bike and they're doing a little quick fit on you.
Yep, they're getting it set up roughly in the ballpark so you can go out there and ride it and hopefully not kill yourself, not fall off it and pedal with some reasonable fluency and that sort of stuff. Look, you can't expect too much. The person that's selling you the bike could have, they could have 15 years experience in cycling kinematics. They could be amazing, but a lot of the time it's...
Unlikely.
Yeah. I don't want to cast too many dispersions, but sometimes it's just a guy or a girl who works in a bike shop and, they may or may not have any idea about cycling biomechanics, so don't expect too much. A bike that you've just bought, it needs to be the right size, needs to be the right kind of rough geometry with a bit of play available. You can change the length of the stem, you can move the bar up and down, you can move the seat. You need to have the capability of moving it into the correct position, so they need to be just in the ballpark, right? You can expect, hopefully, if they spend 20 or 30 minutes with you setting up your new $10,000 bike that you've bought, you can hopefully expect that they'll get the seat height fairly close, although I have seen plenty where they've been 20, 30 millimeters off. So again, don't expect too much. And this is why my profession exists, is to solve these sorts of problems. And you can't expect too much from someone who hasn't been trained in this sort of thing. Right? And again, I've seen guys and girls come from bike shops with a new bike, and the position is amazing.
Wow,
and they've done really, really, really well. I would say that's generally in the minority, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. So they should set your bike up so that you're not going to hurt yourself. It should be reasonably comfortable. Your leg extension should be reasonably controlled. The stuff that you can't expect too much detail on, particularly the big one, is going to be asymmetry, right? They're not there to correct asymmetry. If you've got one knee that's flaring away from the bike, or you're sitting twisted, something like that, that's going to be a bit outside the scope of what they're going to be capable of solving. And that's fine, unless you're in there paying for it, which then drags us into the second part of the question, is what should you expect from a professional fit? But if you're paying for a 2 or 3 hour service where they're working at a high level to resolve these biomechanical issues, that's where you can start expecting a lot more. And like, my bar is pretty high. I think you should expect a fair bit from your bike fit professional, because you are paying them usually multiple hundreds of dollars for what should be a very professional sort of service that covers pretty much every base.
Yeah.
So you should expect quite a lot.
So before you go into that, my view was always like a fit at a bike shop is basically getting your reach right or thereabouts and your saddle height.
Yep.
And that's it. Nothing to do with your feet. Cleat position, shims, wedges, where I feel a lot of the value I receive from working with you sat, which has to do a lot with asymmetries. I know that's kind of a basic way of putting it, but there's nothing done downstairs.
No.
When I say downstairs.
Yes. It's a poor choice of words, Cameron. There's nothing done downstairs.
You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, yeah, precisely right. And it's just outside the scope of what they're capable of doing, which is totally fine, Yeah, I agree. There should be some, ideally, if you've got a really good bike shop, there should be some element of trying to ascertain the correct reach. There's a lot of variability in that. Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, the bike just comes with a stem and that's it.
True.
Yeah.
Integrated bars.
Integrated. Don't get me started. Integrated cockpits. Yeah, it can be $1,000 operation to change it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, those bikes just get set up like that, and as long as the seat height's kind of right, they're like, well, any further problems, and you better go and get a professional bike fit.
Yep.
So what should you expect from your professional bike fitter? Look, it should be a 2-hour consultation at the least.
Yep.
I'm really quick these days. I have 2 different lengths of consultations. I've got a 2-hour one and a 3-hour one.
Yep.
And then we can extend those if you're adding multiple bikes. Sometimes I have people come bring in 3 bikes and they're with me for 5 hours sometimes, So we extend it by an hour for each additional bike. So it should be a long process.
Yep.
Shouldn't be 45 minutes or anything like that. You should be there for a while. Detailed physical assessment, detailed assessment of your asymmetries, your posture, your flexibility.
This is all done off the bike.
All done off the bike.
Before you even get on the bike.
Yep. They should be looking at your feet in great detail, the biomechanics of your feet. They should be asking you about your injury history, your medical history, all that sort of stuff, to get an idea of where your deficits may be in your biomechanics. They should be assessing hip range of motion, all this sort of stuff. This should be a detailed process. After 30 or 40 minutes of that, we should be sticking you on the bike and looking at your cleat position, your seat height, particularly referencing asymmetry a lot. So it's the easiest part of my job is putting your seat in the right place and your bars in the right place. That takes 5 to 10 minutes. easiest part of the job. The hard stuff is getting rid of asymmetry and nailing down the really fine points. That's what takes all the time. So there should be a lot of focus on getting feedback from the rider while they're on there. What are you feeling? Can you still feel that heel drifting in? Can you feel your left leg overextending? This sort of thing, combined with looking at the rider, and I can't stress this enough, from all 5 angles, people. Front, back, top, and the left and the right. They should be looking from every angle. Most of the fine nuanced stuff that we do is actually referencing pelvis position, which can really only be seen from the top down.
Yep.
So we stand over the back of the rider. We've probably got some B-roll of me doing it, and we're looking at how square their pelvis is.
Me dropping my right hip, plenty of that B-roll.
You sitting twisted and dropping your right hip and flaring your knee away when you stop stretching for a couple of weeks. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. They should be looking at all this in great detail. There should be a report at the end of it. Mine's about 8 or 9 pages in a PDF file, which we email to each client, which has got all the dimensions. You should have recorded dimensions. You should have instructions in there to replicate the position onto another bike, recommendations for componentry choices and changes on the bike for the next machine, all of that sort of stuff, and a detailed explanation of why you've done everything that you've done. Yeah.
Okay.
So that you, as the fitter, you can then reference back to that in the future. If the rider sends you a message in a year's time and says, "Oh, my knee's starting to hurt," what could it be? We can look back at the data. So, yeah, those are all the things that you should expect from a professional fit. And if it's done well, it's a very complicated, high-level service, and it should cost a bit too. This is not an easy thing. This took me 15 plus years to learn this stuff. So you can expect, like, if they're charging $100 for it, it's probably not quite the level that you want. It shouldn't, don't be afraid to spend a bit of money on this stuff, people, because some of the best value that you get out of your riding is from having a really high level position. Yeah.
Well, I've been there. I've done those two to even $300 fits, and I'm talking 10 years ago. And no one ever put shims in my feet, which you did. No one ever told me to change crank lengths. No one ever told me I had a hip impingement. And you did all these things, and it literally did transform my cycling. So even if you do spend $200 or $300, sometimes you're still not getting a good fit. Yeah,
that's a subject for another video, is how to find a high quality bike fitter.
Well, I think it can be summed up in somebody that understands human biomechanics first and foremost. So I don't mean to blow steam up your ass, but having a sports physio background or understanding human biomechanics first before becoming a bike fitter, I feel, is a really good thing to look for when you're searching for a professional fit.
That's a fair call, and there's not many of us around. There's not many physios and kinematics type specialists who specialise in cycling biomechanics. I would call myself a physiotherapist who specialises in cycling biomechanics, and the people watching at home would call me a bike fitter. But there's not too many of us around, unfortunately, because it is such an interesting niche. Like, there's not many people who've raced, who understand what suffering is on a bike, who've had their own positional problems, who've got my training background and then have moved into this speciality. Can be really hard to find. But I do find that medical professionals with a kinematics, biomechanics background do make really good bike fitters, but there are also exceptions to that rule. I know plenty of guys who don't have any formal qualifications who are really good as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a hit and miss area, mate.
Yeah. All right, well, if somebody is on the verge of getting a professional bike fit and they don't have any professional bike fitters in their area, which is also common because you could live in Timbuktu, you put something together called Bike Fit Fundamentals, an online bike fitting program.
Yes, yeah, we highly recommend this if you're struggling to find.
Of course you do. You put it together.
Of course, yeah. I can't not recommend my own product. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this.
We did.
Yeah, it's a very detailed 7-part course with video tutorials, backup information in PDF format in there as well, and that's a way of basically self-fitting yourself to a pretty high level.
Get yourself 90% there, 95%.
Yeah. The only thing it's not going to cover you for is really complicated asymmetrical sort of motion pattern problems. They can be very difficult to solve yourself, but for everything else, it's really good.
Yeah. Okay.
So we highly recommend Bike Fit Fundamentals. There's a link in the description
there will
below
be
for that one.
All right. Thanks for your time.
No worries at all, mate.